some wild right now.
Yeah, what's the topic? What we doing? I got my eyes closed, I'm steady moving. I'm through the tide, bro, I cannot move it. I know the time shift, but I've been living fluid. It's lucid, the way the dreams flow from my mental so effortlessly. I got them all tuning in, you know they effing with me. I flip the flow, flip the beat so effortlessly. I got my mind going crazy, they the road to see me shine, but I grind harder than the most of them. I've been fly all the time, all I do is coach some of them. I float some of them, the boat when I afloat. I don't need a pen, a pad, a paper, baby. I've been golden since the beginning of something. Flipping this flow or something, thinking the O's or something. Maybe I know a little something more than the average boy on the playground. Smoking since my days though. I don't know how I stayed down since a little one. I just hopped up on the beats and killed it, something riddled them. Told them I belittled them. I'm back again, riddling fans, mad than they man. Damn, I just fell off the beat, but me and my man about to introduce this heat to the people. Peace signs and middle fingers up, you know that we the people. We the people, hey. Welcome to Vine Tree Radio. You here chilling with the Vine Tree. It's your boy West and your boy
Mauriwowi. How's it going?
I'm about to talk about everything in the music, you know what I'm saying? Everything about our lives, some good old stuff, conversation. Get it going. You know, this episode 1. So how you feeling about it? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm excited, bro. Oh man, after so many like speed bumps that we had to get through to get here, I'm ready to get it going.
Same, like the setup of everything was a little wild. Like had to spend some time on that. Started a little late, but we here. We got a plan, so I feel like everybody might be pleased at the end of it. So I feel like a big thing that's been on our mind lately, since being producers, the Vine Tree, the brand and everything, has been music, like releasing music, the changes in music, the trends. That's something I follow like strategically because it's my it's my vibe. I love music. It's been a passion of mine. But also as an artist, it's like important to stay up on that and see the way things are going and kind of try to be ahead of the curve.
And what would you say is ahead of the curve right now?
I feel like ahead of the curve for me would be something digital for sure, like everything within that technology field, like as far as distributing music like through your computer fresh from your house, like that aspect of it, and how you market that. Like everything can be done without you having to middleman a lot of people, and I think that's what's changing a lot of stuff. So there is specific trends and things that are happening, but I think that's the catalyst, is like the ability to do it all from home.
It's very true, especially in these times where like we're all forced to be home. Like you have to figure out a way to make it work, right? One thing I will say though, like as long as like as far as trends for 2021, I don't know if it's just because it's the beginning of the year where only 3-4 weeks into January, that I'm not seeing a lot of like large projects being put out, but I am seeing hella EPs. There's a lot of artists are dropping like 4 to 6 like song projects, and I can see it working because we got a lower attention span nowadays.
Yep.
People aren't really tuning in for the full project. Although me personally, I love listening to albums
like all the way through type vibe.
Exactly.
Like I already know that. I already know. But I see what you're saying. Like the trend on it has been like, even with artists that you may see as like an album artist who's gonna drop like a story song by song.
Yeah.
Even them are giving you like a little bit of an EP pack, maybe like a 2-pack or like a 3 like pack. And I think the strategy for me behind it is that that shorter attention span, but also than that, it's like you can execute that. So it's like if everyone has a short attention span and you wanna make a mark on that, you might want to make a mark in a way that you can control it. And you can control 2 to 3 songs and the outcome of that with the way more you can like your whole story or like a project.
That's true.
That's how it's received for sure.
That's actually super true. It gives you a lot more control. It gives you a lot more ability to fine tune a theme. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's one thing I do like to see from these smaller EP projects, is that from the artists that I really do enjoy listening to, they usually follow like a theme, for whether it be like if they're making something that's super crafted to be in the same way like old classic albums that you listen to and you're like, yo, this one was really well because it flowed well between the songs, it flowed well narratively, like there's some sort of glue that's there, right? And I feel like for these shorter albums, it's a lot easier to get that glue to kind of be consistent across, whether it be the flow,
like the glue right there. Because I feel like me as an artist, I got a lot of songs that they share that similar glue, like where you know when you making them, like, oh, these gotta go together. But a lot of times as an artist, you may run into that, but when you're making a project, you may have a bunch of little patches of glue, I feel like. And it's tough as like in the market before that, where it's like, what do I do with these? Like you might release them as loosies on SoundCloud to get your buzz up or whatever. But nowadays it's like everything is loosey, everything is single, because that generates the buzz for you like that.
It's easiest to.
Facts, because people see that song and then they see if you keep improving on it, it's like, oh, I made a better song, and then I made a better song, and it's like that is kind of what I'm seeing. That trend is what's shifting the music trends right now as far as the project size, project length. But then there's something else within that I'm noticing is the deluxe trend.
The deluxe trend is interesting because I understand it, like wanting to double up on it. I mean, we did a deluxe.
That's what I was gonna say. Like deluxe is a whole nother approach.
Yo, it's straight up hailing right now.
Yeah, it wasn't coming here until right now. Right now, it just started coming over here. You can we put something over this, bro?
That's what I'm thinking.
Vine Tree Radio.
All right, back in action. You might need to cover the keyboard, but it's hailing right now.
I don't think it'll overheat because it is cold as a motherfucker out here.
Yeah. And one thing about the weather, you know, out here in SCV is that it's unpredictable, you dig? So
changes every day.
That's something
just like mood though. So it's
same like music too. That's what we was about to get into a little bit later for sure, like weather, being outside and relating that to music, because I'm a big bike rider. I like running, being outside, and I write music. So I think those two things go hand in hand for me, and I feel like a lot of other artists probably feel that way, like when it comes to working out and exercising your lungs, because it's a different connection with it. Like you know, you work out your lungs and exercise, and you can kind of sing better. There's like some vocal coaches that tell you about like that, opening your lungs, that part of it.
It's facts, bro. Like personally, I mean, I walk every day at least like hour and a half, 2 hours with my dog, and I personally use that time to listen to a lot of music and self-reflection, whether it's working on like whatever projects it might be. Like it's just a moment of like meditation, right? So it's a time it's, you know, the elevated heart rate, you got the kind of zoned in vibe, because like I like to go on like long walks, right? And so when I'm going on the walk, like I don't really got to focus too much on what going around too. Like I focus on, you know, staying alive, making sure, you know, crossing the street, but like overall you can kind of zone into like a little world, you know? And so it's super, like, that's something that the weather has a super effect on, because if it's super cold, if it's really cold, I can't go out as often, or I got to be super bundled up. If it's raining, it's a bitch to walk in the rain, honestly.
Yeah, nah.
Especially like around here, because it's
different
kind
kind
of
of
rain.
rain.
Hills.
I've definitely noticed that when I lived in Monterey for a little bit, because it's a very rainy place, and I enjoyed the rain. Like I started learning how to do a lot of stuff in the rain, like riding bikes, taking the bus, everything. But when you come back to here, you do kind of realize that rain is different everywhere you go. Like the rain and the way the city is set up here, you can't really be outside like in the rain, like just moving around. Like it's not gonna be fun, I guess, pleasant maybe.
Yeah, it's some bullshit, and it always fucks up traffic even more so around here, which is terrible. The rain puts a lot of impedance on a lot of things. But it's also, I mean, that's the negative of it, but the beauty of rain is you gotta love the sound, you gotta love the smell of it.
Bro, I took a snap this at 4 a.m. when I first heard the rain, because I heard the sound in my window, and I like straight took a snap of it, because I was like, yo, that's like a sample, bro. Like
it is, bro. Something about that sound is very calming. It's like the repetitive nature, like like it's the repetitive kind of syncopated nature, where it's just kind of light, it's sets a vibe,
right? I think we've sampled rain in a song before, like the
yeah,
sound of it.
we have.
For sure.
I think it was top of my head.
Can't remember too.
I was gonna say it was
album.
For the original of the day I died. It had rain in it. I don't know if it made into the final cut. I don't think it did.
Nah, it didn't for sure,
but it definitely started off with rain in it.
Definitely, I think outside samples alone are things that you can record, but a lot of times I get inspired by them. Like when I was hiking recently, in Placerita, I heard like sounds of, you know, birds and stuff like that. Like I closed my eyes. I was telling my mom, you know, we close our eyes, and that to me is when you hear like, because you try to remember like, okay, what's that over there? Like kind of like you visualize where the area of the sound is coming from. And I think that to me is like, I like sampling from that because that's how you make songs. Like, it's like you, from the way we process sounds, like that's why when you hear like a hi-hat a certain way or like a kick in a certain place, like it hits you differently because that's how it is when you hear the world, real talk. Like you hear, you know, like things in different areas and like from directionally where they coming from. Like,
dude, that's facts. Panning and like paying attention to directionality in music is crazy because it really can set a vibe the same way like you feel when you're walking out and like you're saying, you're walking out in nature, you're listening to the birds in the distance here, you listen, or the train. I'm sure these people can hear the train as well in the distance like us.
Bro, we sampled the train on our first album. But
that's facts.
When I was listening back to that song recently, I actually got mad excited on that because that's such a integral part of like who I am, where I live. Like I hear the train all the time. So it's like, it's cool that like a song that's like a real big part of our first like songs had the train in it. Like I always think true. That's crazy.
That is super true. No, the train has always plagued us around here with the sound wise. I mean, it's nice because like you always, it's weird because it reminds you of home because we're so used to it here. So you hear it and you're just like, oh, okay, like it's just part of the vibes here. But end of the day, like if you're recording or if you're doing certain things like that, I don't know. You know what? Is it a burn though? Because it's just part of life. So if you get it in the background of like a song, so like that right there, you know what I mean? Perfect timing. We're talking about the train, and the train whistle comes in. Like in a moment like that, it's not burnt, bro, because this is working into exactly what we're talking about.
Exactly what we're talking about.
And
you
like,
can feel it.
Yeah,
you know
bro. Like fate is just happening at the moment. That's 100% facts. But
I think that's the same thing for me. Oh.
Mind Tree Radio.
We were talking about hiking and being outside and all that. One thing that I also attest to that, like when it comes to music and a relation to working out, is writer's block and mental health. Like that for me goes hand in hand with the music because I'm a very therapeutic person when it comes to music. I enjoy like recording to talk about shit you may not talk about or like getting it out like in that way and kind of like feeling good about it after. So when you relate that to like figuring out what you want to say, like getting in that mindset for me comes with the running and like getting to that point of almost like pain, like because it's like that's what makes me want to let go or like think of some shit. I don't know how to really explain that. I feel like that's where I get my like mental clearness at that helps me maybe write a song or something. Like it comes from that place of like when you really at your brink. For me, like I think that's the way I view music and working out, like being at the brink of something.
it's almost like building an adrenaline rush. You know what I mean? In the sense of like when you get into the stride of it, like you really are able to lock in and do it. Low key though, I wanted to finish on what we were talking about earlier though, about like when fate plays into
what?
Well, like when we were talking about the train whistle.
Like I remember the train.
Yeah, when the train whistle comes in, like if fate plays into it, like there's moments like that you can't replicate. There's moments like that that you are so unique to the moment that you almost savor that. And that makes it so unique. But then there's at the same time, someone could view that same sound as like, why the fuck would you add that sound right there? Like they just don't understand like sometimes it's like too deep that they don't get like that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm down to speak on that. It's the first episode, so I feel like I wouldn't necessarily use the word too deep, but I feel like a lot of times people think you're trying to be pretentious if you expect them to look into you personally or like the things that maybe inspire you or make you tick. And personally, I'm here to say I don't really find that pretentious at all. I think like that's what intrigued me in music, like all the little side notes, like Lupe Fiasco, like Kick Push, like the side stories about that and like the intricacies of like where he was living, skateboarding in that area, like all that is what makes this stuff for me. I know a lot of people out there maybe don't think like that or would not like to think that deeply into it, like as what you're saying, but you got to understand that's not the whole world. Like that's like a select group of people that maybe don't want to think about shit like that, and that's fine. That could be the majority of people, but that doesn't really faze me. Like if that's the majority of people or it's not, because what moved you? Like that's what I move off. Like what moved you as a kid? Like what made you do it? And that's what made me do it. So that's why I got real happy when I go back and listen to that and see that in there, because it's like I'm planting the little seeds that were planted for me. Like you feel me? Like if a kid happened to live where I live and like or nearby, or just understand that like that's a seed planted for him to get. Like the same way there was seeds planted for me. Like I feel like that's what it's about for me.
I love Easter eggs. I love when you watch something or listen to something for the first time and it's like that's dope, but then the second or third or fourth time you listen to it or watch it and you look into it deeper, you were like, oh, wait, there's that little detail. I didn't realize that before. Like, oh wait, there's that, and then it opens up like a whole new sense of context sometimes, or like it might open up a whole new sense of context, or it might just be like, oh, that's hard. And either way is cool, but sometimes people don't recognize those things initially, and so they just see these moments of that would be like, that's a weird ass sound, or like that's a weird approach. They just don't understand like.
Yeah, like it's almost like when you're looking at something from a very surface level point of view. Like on a surface level point of view, you may not understand why you added in something personal about yourself in this moment. Which I understand, like that's also another perspective. It's like, you know, some people look at music straight business like only, so it's like they don't care about what your personal, like don't put nothing about the childhood, don't put nothing like, you know. But as I've been in music, I learned that depending on what lane you want to go, you may have to double down on the opposite of what people saying, because you different than them. Like, you only gonna succeed being you. I hate to say it, you're only gonna succeed being you. We just start that off episode 1.
Facts.
Like, you only finna succeed being you. Like, that's it. Like, there's people that are gonna succeed all different ways, but you not gonna succeed not being you. And
I agree with that.
And I learned that one. Like, business-minded music making versus necessarily another aspect of business-minded music making where you may want to incorporate Easter eggs in your brand to develop a longer history. Like,
yes,
I guess that's the thing. It's like, say you writing a book. I'm J.K. Rowling. I'm writing a Harry Potter series. I ain't about to write the Harry Potter series and just feed to my fans exactly what it is. I'm gonna make it so that it lasts long. Like, she made y'all a full course meal.
Yes,
like,
yes.
That's what I'm trying to do. Like, that's what everybody should try to do. Like, set it up so there's a whole bunch of stuff to get from you.
Longevity. That's what we're always talking about, that it's always about making something last 30, 40 years after the fact, bro. That's what makes it a classic.
Bro, it's mad layers of things you're going to peel back in this podcast. Because even talking about that, it's like there's things, certain people don't even want to do that, though.
No, they focus on what's hot now. They don't mind riding the shortwave. And that's all about the individual person.
That's what I was going to say. Certain people may not be looking for longevity or whatever.
Mind Tree Radio.
Last thing we were talking about in general was music and, you know, people's intentions in the music industry. We wasn't getting too far into it because that's for a whole nother pod, but we were necessarily a little bit talking about you know, the choices you may want to make as far as longevity, because that's a big thing as far as your role and finding your lane. Longevity isn't for everybody. You'll run across a lot of cats that don't want that at all, but you also got to respect the cats that do. That's what I'm saying. It's cats that is really not looking to blow it up big and then just dip out. Like, maybe we love this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe this is what I want to do forever. Like, and I'm not disrespect to other people that don't love this shit or don't want to do it forever. They may want to get old, kicking their family in the back. I don't care, though. I want to be on tour. Like, I want to be, like, in different countries. Like, some people want that. And you can't take that from people because they going to go for it the same way you going to go for what you going to go for and give your all to that shit.
That is true. It's very true. And I love that there is options in the game. You know what I mean? That you can, if you want to play the short route, like the quick, you know, rise, or not even quick rise. Let's say like,
just your target is to get as big as you can in the shortest interval of time as you can.
Yeah, to live in the viral moment. Like that's the word I'm looking for. To live in like viralness, because viralness only lasts X amount of time. It's really short as fuck, especially nowadays where there's so much going on.
I'm not gonna say you can't flip it into more things.
Yeah,
you can flip anything into more things.
That's the way.
But are you planning for it to last? That's always the question. Or are you planning to get in and get out? That's different.
Yeah, it's very true.
I think we could talk about some other cool shit. Like, we could talk about like verses and like producing in that tip, like big producing. Like, since we talking about the future, that's a fire transition. Since we talking about the future and your future plans, let's talk a little bit about our future plans as a producer when it comes to verses and shit like that. Cause that's what I see is like the end goal. Like, all of those hits, like all of those tracks that are just like musically, you come on and it's just like, damn, like this goes. Like, who made this? Any era. Like,
this is a fair warning to whoever gets these hands late years from now. You're gonna lose. We're gonna beat you. I'm sorry. It's gonna be a good match because you're gonna kill it. But we're gonna beat you.
I ain't gonna say that though. The game's gotta be played. That's always learned. Like, as far as like the game's gotta be played, bro. You know, so you might get injured. You don't know what's happening. So I feel like, but we got a good foot in it.
Damned if we ain't playing to win. I'll be damned.
We got a good foot in it because only because I'm gonna say, cause I'm a humble cat in that regard. I'm gonna say only because we going at it at our approach of trying to produce mad records for mad different people in mad different genres, and that's what seems to kind of like rock out in the end. Because the more versatile cats kind of have the more hits in all different areas. Like you may have the hits in hip hop with me, or you may fucking dub me in hip hop. But then when I get to the R&B or when I get to the alternative bag, like you don't got that. So that's what's happening when I see the verses. And I feel like that's beautiful though, because it shows music and its possibilities. Like it really shows how far this shit could be taken. Like it's crazy.
It was something that graced, you know, the community in such a way that was like we weren't ready for it, but we were like, damn, this is so cool. Like we're acknowledging the greats, and I love the competitive aspect. The thing is, it's hard to say what versus is going to be like 10 years from now, because it's already kind of transitioned in a way. It's continuously transitioning as it is now. It's moving fast. You know what I mean? It's moving very fast. It's got, whether it be transitioning from having like different locations to a single location to back to different locations, that's one thing. And then you got the thing of, is it more of, it's always kind of been on the vibe of celebratory, just kind of rocking, like showing the world,
like, oh, okay, like sometimes it's been like celebration-y and not as competition-y.
Exactly.
That's kind of been the backbone of it.
That's the backbone of it, but then also the competition aspect of it.
Because betting is never going to go anywhere. Like you could have a kid's soccer game and somebody's betting on it, bro.
That's facts. Like it's just part of human nature. As humans, we're just naturally competitive. Like you got to survive. You know what I mean? And so having that built in, like I like that aspect of it as well. That it does show, like, you know what I mean? Because on the celebratory note, it makes it seem like, all right, we could put 20 songs in a playlist and just run it, and that would be cool. Or we could just do, which I understand, like that is cool. Or you could do like,
that's not interesting.
It's not that interesting, right? But when you play, which is what they're kind of leaning into now, where it's like, all right, this song versus that song, strategic like playlisting, and
it's fun, bro.
Combine that with the live performance. I think it's really cool, and I think it's like, if, who knows, dude? You know how you're saying like betting and shit like that, like betting on kids' soccer games. Who knows? Like if it were to get to the point where it's so regularly recognized and so many people are like, I'm sure people are already betting on it, but the thing is, there's no like full definitive factor, like,
but
because
it's so
subjective.
I don't think there ever will be unless they regulate it on some like boxing type shit. But I'm saying, like, I don't think there ever will be, because betting is like that. Like you can find places where people are betting on whatever, but it ain't gonna be sanctioned always. Like as far as things that are especially like that, like where it's not, or it's a competition, but it's not necessarily a competition, where it's like they might not be able to just outright say like,
well, not even on like the legal aspect of it, but in the sense of like determining a winner, because when it
Pine Tree Radio.
So when it comes to verses, I already know people are betting on it, but it may not be sanctioned. But I can see it getting to the level where it's like fully sanctioned, fully everything, not betting on money wise, but like really competition wise, like where they got scores, they got judges. I can see that happening, if that's what you're getting at.
I don't know. The more this is a hard question, because honestly, the more I think about it,
music is subjective.
It is. It's very subjective, and because it's so subjective, unless you have like people who are the sanctioned absolute judges, and then based off that they make it like a thing. But even then, when you watch like competitive shows, like it's always kind of like bullshit. It's like,
that's why
is that really their decision, or is it like the producers in the back?
I think I prefer it not to be regulated like that. I prefer it to be like the streets give the same with battle rap.
Yeah,
battle raps. You watch battle raps. Mad people probably don't, but at the end of a battle rap pay-per-view, whatever, they don't tell you who wins. It's just like the comments, like the people, like you kind of like go off of like what is the most being said, and that is kind of hard to say, because you know it's not like subjective, like we were just saying. But I kind of fuck with that way more than like submitting myself to the objectivity of like the people that are just gonna be the judges. Like,
no, that's true, but then that goes against like what I was saying about like the competitive nature that I do like about it, and that I do, because we're talking about looking forward to getting to verses, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, not yet, but we're not at that level where
I see what you're saying. Like we're like on a producer tip. Like we talking about getting to the point of just having enough stuff on your belt to go there with people.
Exactly. And so if you're looking at it from that perspective, you want to take it from a very competitive aspect where you're saying like, I need to make this stuff that's gonna be built to be for this level of event, right? But it's interesting because you come in with that mentality, but at the base of it, it's celebratory, where it's kind of subjectivity, where it's like, oh no, it's just kind of putting on something that was hot. So it's like,
yeah, there's a lot of different approaches to the whole idea of verses in general. Like Pharrell said a lot about that. Like he said he wouldn't want to do one for that reason, that he would just play things that he thinks is fire, like B-sides, da-da-da. Like, he would really try to sun you on, like, you don't got something like this, which is one perspective.
that's the where we would go to, though, is like going in, like showing you like, oh, we got this vibe, but you might beat us on there, but you don't got us on here.
That's one perspective, but a lot of other people are playing most people are playing the verses on this note, which is what I'm noticing. It's a lot of hits bases. Like, basically, sometimes a lot of people are getting over on that was a bigger song than this song. I may not personally judge it that way, but I'm noticing that that's almost as common as far as the way it's being judged as the other way. It's just like which one is more fire. So rather I prefer that one, and that would be my cup of tea. I do understand that it may be a competition on that, and that's a different story.
Because that gives you a tangible form to compete in. When you're comparing numbers, it's easy to say like who won over which one, because it's like, all right, look at these two. This one has more.
I think that's why they're constantly including that to a degree.
Which I understand. This is an interesting, like, it's complex because you got that aspect of like the numbers game, but like you said, just because it's a little bit, it might have did more numbers at the moment. Like, do you think it would just outright beat any?
Nah, because that's the thing. I noticed though, it's a double-edged sword, because they're also not letting Impact go out of the conversation either. Yeah, like that's like through the comments, everything, like Impact is still hidden. Like when Sam from Heaven came on, I saw Damian Lillard in the comments say this was an anthem in the town. Like, that's not leaving. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that.
But that adds to the subjectiveness of it. That's what I was saying. Like that's where it comes down to, like, oh, which I like. I like that people are able to make their own decisions and be like, oh, you know what? No, that person hit me a little different. Like that person.
Yeah, like at that time when that breakup hit and I was listening to that Keisha Cole album, it went crazier than the Ashanti. I saw a lot of that, but at the same time, it's like, what I'm saying is, that's the double-edged sword of the verses. That I feel like is the two solid judge points that are remaining, like Impact and hits wise. Like, was it a big hit? Like, you know what I'm saying? Was this everywhere? Like, you know what I'm saying? Or what? But also the impact. Like, was it felt everywhere? Like, even though it was a big hit, like, did people remember this forever? Like, do they go back to it and bump it? Like, those two things I think are like kind of I see just like as a very pillar in who's winning.
No, I agree. And I think because of that subjectivity of like people deciding of how it impacted them and then they get to pick, I'm looking back on it and I think this is hard, because the part that I'm stuck on, or like kind of contemplating on, is thinking of, because that's what you want it, so people are basing it off how it made them feel, right? Yeah. People, and that's how we all react to music, is how did it make us feel in the moment. And so when people are feeling this,
bro, that made me feel hard. Like,
it's so, like, nostalgia is crazy how it hits you sometimes, right? But when you're listening to something, and especially in these verses, it's a lot about nostalgia and like kind of reminding you of what the moment was like, and while admiring the song. But when it comes down to two songs, if you had to pick between two songs that you think are both good, it's probably the one that has the better moment associated with it than it is the better song, right? So in these, in these things, so you can almost look at like cultural impact does have the most effect on it. So you're looking to make the best moments for people. See, and I guess that's what the best artists like are trying to make, is like you're trying to make
100, because you were saying earlier that that's our angle, and now I see how that's our angle, because the cultural moments making the most impact in that area, I feel like that is how we end up fire in the verses.
Exactly. And
way more than hits for me personally. I don't think I'm gonna be able to compete with you on like, damn, I had the most number one hits in this era. Like, I think I might hit you with the like, nah, like when my stuff dropped in this era, like it felt like what was going on.
That's true. It's a reflection, and it made people feel a certain way. That's what we're going for, at least. And ideally, when we get to the point where we can grace the versus stage, you know, we will have created some cultural moments where we'll be, maybe this is the part where I was like getting stuck on, is that to get there you have to come in at a competitive mindset. Like, I want to make stuff that's so dope that's going to be worth that moment, right? Yeah. But when you get there, it's about celebrating the moment. So I guess that's what it is. It's just looking at it as like versus is maybe an end goal celebration, or not an end goal celebration, but when But maybe I'm worried that
Nah, I
it'll
get it.
transition away from it.
When you've done, it may not.
Because right now it's the goats. Like, you know what I mean? Like now it's the people that are.
It may not be the most popping thing. It may be more so just like it may just be a community thing by the time we get in it, like where it's just a thing that happens in the community. You know what I'm saying? Like,
which is cool.
I can see that big.
Working, but it takes away from like
Fuse.
the, yeah,
like Fuse, like the channel.
Exactly. Yeah.
I can see that just being on Fuse on like Tuesdays.
Yeah, that's very true. I could definitely see that. But because of that, like, I don't know. It's weird because knowing that it's because the way it happens is that you're going to run out of goats at a certain point, right? You know what I mean? Like you're going to run out of people who are considered the top of the top, and then you start going, it's like kind of get your A.
That's when I think
your A list and then your B list, C list. Like when you start getting to that point, it's a matter of what time, like, what do you say, 2 years? If they're doing it at a regular schedule or...
I think they're not going to do the regular schedule because I think people are like the goals they're going for are going to lag. Like they're going for people that lag. So I think that it was going to take I think it's going to take 5 years to knock out all of the great battles. Like to all of the Dre kind, like the ones that they were originally throwing out, like the Diddy's. Like I think all of those goat guys are going to take that's going to be like one crazy year. And then I think there's going to be a year of like all the young people, like all the young goats, like they might not do it in that segment, but I'm thinking in time wise, like the amount of battles it would take to do like the future Travis, because they scrapped that one, but they're gonna do those, is what I'm saying. Like they're gonna have a moment where they do like those battles, and I think that's gonna take a while too. You know what I'm saying? Like of just doing like the Meek battles, the Drake, like the people they're gonna battle.
When they get to that point, do you think it'll benefit them to? Because I guess what we're thinking is in 5 years, right? Rough timetable, right? I'm just thinking of like
they should be done with all those battles.
Yeah, say in 5 years they're done with those battles. So I guess you could say in 5 years there's a pretty good amount of time for artists to rise and fall. There's more artists that can come into the conversation. There's not many people that I would put in the GOAT category after 5 years, though, realistically.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's only going to be people that I would feel like was already popping in my childhood and is like about to be goated right now. Like,
which is possible. But my question, I guess, where I was going with this is, how far down that road do you think they should? Do you think they go all the way? Do you think Verzuz, like if you were in charge of Verzuz, would you take it all the way to where you exhaust all your A-listers, then you go to your B-listers, C-listers, go on, so on and so forth? And I mean, by the time you get in B, C list, it's going to be a fucking huge list. Don't get me wrong. Like, it gets a very small.
I think you do, but
group
I think
at the top
also,
and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
I think you wait. I think you do, but to an extent, you're right. They probably wait a little bit and then level up to like going back to the A-listers. Like they give room for people to become A-listers to an extent. Because, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they might go through some of the... Because they can go to old people. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like how they did Patti LaBelle. And they can go old and Nita Baker. But... And I think they'll do that until they'll, like, lag that out. Until they get some of the GOATs to really drop, like, a few more classic albums and shit. Like, they'll wait till Drake dropped, like, 3. Like, wait till Drake got 3 more albums in his belt and Kendrick.
Bro, that would be... Like, Drake gets 3 more albums under his belt. Who goes against Drake? Is it Kendrick?
Like, in that situation? Like, they would have to wait that long because like the other GOATs would have to follow Drake and drop more music too. Like they wouldn't be able to just be still considered GOATs with him if he's 3 albums down the line and they're still where they're at now. Yeah,
I can see that. Basically, where I was trying to get at is, do you think it's better to? I don't want to say end it, but maybe like cap it off when they finish off their quote unquote GOATs. And then maybe bring it back in every now and then when they've got a couple that they weren't able to get in before. They were like, oh, this person wasn't down. Now they're with the shits, whatever it may be, right? Or is it better to just write it out and like keep bringing in the B and C listers? Basically, my question is the B and C listers. Does Verzuz being the big thing that it's become or it's becoming, like, do they want to take that route of now spreading it onto the quote unquote general public or more general public?
That's a question, my G.
Or do they want to end it like just with the, like just keep it to the upper echelon? Because it seems like right now they're keeping it to the upper echelon. But my question is like, how long can they do that? And until when they get to that point, are they going to be like, fuck it? Or like, nah, we did something dope. Let's just end it on a high note.
I've seen a lot of pressure for them to go down into like subcategories, but they don't seem to. I don't think they're going to do that anytime soon.
Low-key, I think it's the move. I think it's if I was in their shoes, I'd probably do the same situation. Because I feel like I'd want to end it on a high note. Like, I'd probably set up a different thing that would be maybe like a subset of it. Like, which I get what you're saying, like they want people to set up the subcategory. maybe I could see that working like as something that's emphasized as like just on the smaller act side of things, but then it would be maybe that's more competitive than the one that's like celebratory, because the one that the upper echelon people is you're listening to them,
That's
just
how it
because
always is,
they're
bro.
dope, you know what I mean?
Main analogy I can make is college sports, bro. I love college sports over other sports always because it's more competitive. Like with basketball, mostly because I'm into basketball, and I used to always like college sports better. Everybody knows because they trying to make it. They going harder. Simply like, you know, you may be nicer, but they're going harder. Like they're trying harder.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's because of that aspect of it, like, I could see it being cool, and I could see that being like a thing, but I feel like it would definitely have to be separate. Like, they got to keep, in my opinion, or they don't gotta, they should, keep that being like an upper echelon type thing. Have it be like a moment of the GOATs. And then maybe
that's what I meant. That's what I meant a little bit on the time.
And maybe they
like
expand it out. Yeah, maybe they like expand it out so much that the amount of people they could have done in 5 years, they'll do it in 10. Maybe they'll just like give extra time between things. Treat it like boxing. You know what I mean? Like where they have a big match. Well, I mean that where they have been already, but I feel like it's been kind of consistent. Yeah, pay-per-views. You know what I mean? But I'm saying like Versus already has been on that wave where it's one big event and it only happens like every so often.
But they've been building it up to where it's like
it was happening regularly for a moment. And so now what I'm saying is, if like when you're watching like boxing or like UFC or like major pay-per-view events like that, it's not that consistent. So keeping the GOATs I think is a great idea, but maybe giving more space between the thing and making it more of an event would make it more of something that can stand a longer test, so that they could do it, because just spreading it out longer time between the things, and then maybe
and
putting a little bit more.
Yeah, hype more.
Exactly.
Like give me some wrestling advice. Give me a Labor Day weekend versus. Give me a like a Christmas time versus, and like that's solid. Like you maybe could do one fucking like one middle one. You know what I'm saying?
Bro. All right. I mean,
and you can make more money that way because you're gonna be
parties,
everything. Like it's gonna be more stuff if it's centered around like the big holidays,
bro.
Which
like
you're already
Christmas,
doing, but
bro. Tell me you don't want to hear like some fucking Michael Bublé versus Mariah Carey. Like
I don't want to hear Michael Bublé versus Mariah Carey ever, but I do want.
But the general idea, you know what I mean? Like the holiday.
I would watch
like
Mariah Carey versus like somebody.
But I'm saying someone on the Christmas vibes for like the Christmas episode, like some you can almost.
I'm not gonna say I would not want to. I hate to say I would not want a Christmas versus. I would want something in that vibe. Yes, like someone who could. But I don't want a Christmas versus, to be honest.
I listen to it just because I like the thematicness of it. But I'm not against just using that as like a big event.
Though. Like that would be cool to have like some like.
That's why I put two singers like that.
Like singers. No, I just meant like singers like that, like Mariah Carey level. Like I agree on that tip. Like somebody like a household name, like her on some warm vibes. I'm with that. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't necessarily center it around Christmas. I would probably, because I still like how it's centered around like all.
That was just on music. That was just on that because we were talking about the holidays. Like we were saying, like if there's a Labor Day one or a Christmas one. I was saying for the Christmas one,
on the holidays though, I would do something. I feel that, but see, on mine, I would just still do like just a smash, like because you say how, for example, on Christmas or holidays, you know, they used to have like movies, like big movies that would come out. It wasn't always a Christmas movie. It would be like Independence Day came out like on 4th of July or whatever, but they would have some ones like that would come out on Christmas. And so a lot of times there was big Christmas movies. I'm not saying there wasn't, but you know, that's what I mean. Like it could be a blockbuster,
and I'm not negating that. Like that's definitely doable, but like
it's more in the vibe. Yeah, I see where you went with it though. Yeah, like, that's still a real place to go with it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, damn, you made this Christmas hit, but I just can't see that being viral. Like, damn, he wrote this Christmas hit, like they're all the same songs.
It's a very similar vibe, that's without a doubt. And a lot of it is funny because a lot of them are covers, so maybe
that's what I'm saying. Like it's not really a versus, like.
But maybe that's the verses, is they both sing the same song, but then it's kind of weird. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like then that's like a straight singing battle. Like at that point, like you, like then produce, like it kind of takes a little bit off the producing vibe at that point, because you singing songs that have been produced and mixed by 1 billion people. Like you don't really know who made what.
So can singers that are in verses now, can they do songs that they didn't write?
No, they can only well actually yeah, they can sing songs that they, but this is how it is. I've from my understanding is that you can sing songs, you could do anything you wrote, you could do anything you sang on, but if you were just like, but you got to be a substantial kind of like feature if it was just like that. Like if I sang on something and I was like the hook, then yeah, you got the hooks all day. Like play a hook you out, play a hard verse you wrote, maybe a little bit of the other person that was on it. That's cool.
What I was trying to get at is in that situation. Then I guess it isn't a burn if people did a cover. Like if they were,
Yeah, no,
if their
hell
cover
no.
got big
Bro,
and like
if
that's
Mariah
what.
Carey plays like her Christmas song, like that's not, you can't tell her she can't play that. That's
Yeah,
like,
exactly. That's what I was trying to get at with that. Like, she made like, she debatably made that song bigger than the.
yeah,
Not debatably.
that's going on
definitely
in
did,
Mariah
but,
Carey's verses. Like that's going on.
Like that would go on her verses,
On her regular
not, like
verses.
not even a Christmas
Yeah,
time. You know what I mean? But
Big facts. I think we should transition into a little bit of like, since we're getting towards, I guess, the later end of the first show and all that, we should transition to just like the life talk. I mean, like
Okay.
just a regular like. Fuck you. No, wait, that's not the vibe. Do whatever the. Oh, getting to the soundboard a little bit, getting to little talks. This is our first day with the soundboard, so
we're gonna practice it. We're gonna
we're having a
these.
little
Do
bit
you
of
care
fun.
whether you live or die?
That's what I was, saying. That's my get into the life talk bag,
Do you care whether you live or die?
But we're here though, so I just feel like as far as the life talk, before we get into the music section of the thing, I'm just gonna firstly talk about like my personal like affirmations and shit that I learned over the maybe like past. I'm gonna go like, we're gonna change the time limit on this, but I'm gonna go over the past week right now, like just something new, a perspective change. I think for me, my perspective change for this week has been like just on, I wouldn't say working out, because I already felt like working out was it, but for me it's been more so like time to myself. Like I love time to myself, but I've been, I guess as of late, trying to make it more productive. That's the affirmation I have, is like when I'm kicking it by myself, which is necessary at times, I feel like I'm on the tip now where I got to make it like productive some of the time. like some of the time you need just a break, but some of the time you need like to be just like you got to take, I got to take control of the times when I'm like my brain is fully moving and shit. Like say in the morning, like when I'm really on some shit, like I got to take advantage of that. And at that time, like absorb what I can, like learn something, like write music, like getting into school again kind of taps me in with that. Like it helps me think about what I need to focus on as far as organization. I mean, it's just a little bit of the boring vibes, but I feel like I always relate little stuff like that to affirmations about my life when it comes to like what I need to do, like to get where I want to go. I mean, that sounds real simple, but I feel like it ain't a simple thing all the time for everybody. Sometimes it takes a lot of discipline sometimes, and I'm one of them people that lack a lot of discipline, but it's a go with the flow kind of thing for me. Like if I take enough breaks, get enough time for myself, I could be as productive and functioning as I want to be in the other things that I'm doing. So it's kind of hand in hand for me, is what I guess a little affirmation of the week. There's gonna be more deeper things I'm gonna tell you all about and affirmations and shit like that, but I mean, I'm about it.
Do whatever the fuck I want.
Hell yeah. No, I agree though. Honestly, like in the past week, I'd say a lot of something I've been reflecting on, and it's kind of like on that same vibe, is where you're saying making the most of the time when you have the time. And in this quarantine, I've had the beautiful opportunity of spending a lot of time with my dog, and we're always together. And
I see some motherfucking shit.
she's always with me, when she can be. And I kind of tiptoe around, but there's moments where I kind of need to be loud, and I need to make movements, but I'm so like conscious of her and like trying to not like bother her too much. Like I don't want to disturb her by moving her around too much, or like sometimes loud noises, like I could see her, she's like, the fuck is that? Like, what I mean, looking at me like, yo, can you like not do that real quick? And seeing that so much, and I can see it in her eyes and stuff like that, it really makes me kind of reflect on like, all right, when can I do or not do something? So when there's moments where she's downstairs hanging out or doing her own thing, like I'll try to use those moments wisely to do this stuff where like, all right, this is where I can do this stuff that would be a little bit more abrasive or a little bit more loud, or and it's not even just with my dog, but like with family around and stuff like that, like knowing, all right, I got stuff, I need to go take care of some chores, or I need to go take care of some errands or whatever it may be at this hour. And so like when I get this moment, I need to be able to do the most that I can in this moment, that I can allot in this moment, because there's different moments. Like what I'm trying to get at is like different moments call for different things you can do. So like you might have like a good space of time, like say you have 2 sets of 2 hours, right? In that one set of 2 hours though, maybe you're doing some like light work where you can focus on, you can multitask and do something else at the same time, right? And like that, there's a certain set of stuff that you can do in that time, but then there's also the moments where you have 2 hours of interrupted time where you can use that to focus and really dial in on one specific thing. And like those kind of differences.
The money for me, bro, because there's certain times where I feel like when it comes to like writing songs and shit like that, when I try to settle it, like if I try to wait for a moment where I could like force myself into doing it, like it doesn't come. Where I'm like, all right, we're gonna write a song right now. Like it's so much better for me to like when those moments present themselves to me to just go all out. That's kind of what I'm noticing. It's like when you get that little moment of like, I was waiting on somebody to pick me up, bro. I wrote like 2 songs. Like I had started them, but I finished writing like 2 songs in that little moment just because it was like a weird motor that when you're waiting on someone, for me personally, it puts in my brain because it's like, all right, I'm here. I'm waiting. What can I do? Like I can't do anything because I'm not staying here. I'm about to leave. And that gets me going. Like I don't know what it is.
And I feel you. You're making the most of that moment. You're like, what can I do to like maximize this? And that's like something where at the same time maximizing the moment, you're feeling the moment and you got that vibe where you're like, you know what, there's certain ambiance going on and that's kind of influencing what you're writing. It helps you kind of get into the zone of meditation.
I get so into it, I'll be late to come out sometimes. Like somebody about to hit me out, like, you know what I'm saying? Like they don't know I'm still in here writing the last couple lyrics of a song because that put me in the mode. Like that antsiness put me in the mode. Like
dude, I feel my mom was making dinner and I asked her roughly like how long it would be so that I could kind of gauge what I need to do, right? She's like, oh, it's gonna be about like 15-20 minutes. It's like, okay, 15-20 minutes, what can I do with 15-20 minutes? Well, I can kind of work on some stuff podcast wise. Like I was finishing the soundboard stuff, so I'm like, all right, I'll work on that. And as I'm getting into it, I get so locked in that 15-20 minutes where something was supposed to be like ready suddenly becomes like 45 minutes, and I come down and it's like, the food was ready, where were you? And it's like, oh, like you gave me that little amount of time, let me lock into something.
It put that pressure on you that gave you focus.
Exactly. And it made me lock into something where I was like, I didn't expect it to go so much longer, but as a result, like, you know, I'm late to something.
Yeah, it's like sometimes the pressure gives you focus on some shit that you shouldn't focus on in that moment.
Yeah.
But it just adds focus. So you're like, oh, let me put this focus on my thing. Like it's like it's a thing. I don't know what it is.
I feel you.
Yeah. It's crazy, bro.
I want his house burnt to the...
Damn, still learning them. I was trying to find the Mac one.
I see some motherfucking shit.
There we go.
Oh, sorry, that's too hard.
That's my one. That's my one. I feel like that's after, you know, you done gave it up some real shit. Because, you know, like you see a lot of things in life and you go through a lot of things in life. And I think that's why podcasting and all that is really big in general. Because when you share that and you vulnerable enough to do that, it helps other people and they like listening to you. I know I'm a big person when it comes, I'm a big supporter of like podcasting for the therapeutic sense for me, because like, you know, I'll give it up. Like we're gonna get into that later, but I'm an only child, you know what I'm saying? So I'm an only kind of like solo kind of individual. So the group conversation thing is some shit I really thrive off and really learn a lot from. Some other people, maybe they be around people that talk too much, like, or you know what I'm saying? Like they get a lot of that. Like I'm somebody that like, I love that. Like I absorb that because it's culture. And
Hell
like,
yeah.
I'm somebody who knows what it's like to necessarily not have that next to you. So it's very important to me to absorb it when I can, because I've always grew up like that. Like when you get out with your friends, you get something like, that's where I learned mad stuff. You learn stuff from at home, but you learn mad stuff like from other people. Like I'm about to be in a class about that. Like that's something I'm big on.
No, I agree with you. I mean, you know me. I'm normally a pretty quiet dude. I like to sit back and analyze more than I like to, you know, run in head first to most things. And I listening and just try to absorbing whatever people do, whatever they say, whatever, all the little mannerisms and all these little things play so much into like teaching you about life and like letting you, whether it may be like reflecting on like, do I do the same shit, or like, would I do the same shit? You know what I mean? Those two questions can change your life, honestly, when you're looking at somebody.
Like based on that perspective, there's books written on that, like where you meeting somebody and you get analytical about thinking like, would I make that same choice if I was in his shoes? Or you know what I'm saying? Like
it's wild, and it's one thing that I love to do the most. And like I agree with you, like you get that the best in these group situations where you get out and you just see these people that are living life and you just absorb it all and try to try to take away what you can.
I see some motherfucking shit.
real. But fucking, I feel like where we at? How long we been recording for? You feel like? You know what I'm saying? It's been a good talk with everybody. I hope y'all enjoying the vibe so far. It's gonna be a lot more vibey as we get going. You know, get our hands wet with the sounds and whatnot. Get the guests going. We got guests coming through on the next couple episodes. You already know. Got my boy Hank Sweets coming through. Got your boy Ruben from Point Doom coming through in a different episode. Look out for that. The homegirl Melania too. Indie artist. She sing all that. You know, we're gonna have acts. We're gonna have people talk about games. We got people talking about music. We're gonna have everything really, because I feel like I know a lot of people and they got a lot to say in general. And you know, it's COVID, so it's gonna be hard to link with everybody, but you know, in isolated little meetups, like we could really get it going and like get some conversation, get some information out to people, and like at the same time have a lot of fun, because it's not really the latest times out right now.
Very true. I'm very excited for all the stuff we got planned for you guys. It's pretty dope. We're gonna have a good time. As far as time wise, we're looking at like 40ish minutes. Is my guess. It's because we got like the preamble thing, you know, when we were setting up. But right now it's like 60-minute. It's a 60-minute recording. I'm gonna guess like 15 to 20 beforehand was.
All right, that's fire. So I would say, you know, we're getting close to the time right now where we should probably like sauce into like the music and whatnot.
Albums this week. Was there anything that caught your?
Oh yeah, we could talk about like the little albums this week. I didn't really look too much at the new albums. I'm not gonna lie, because I glanced. It wasn't a lot that came out.
Not a lot coming out. But you know what? Speaking on what we were talking about earlier, the EP vibes. There was two EPs that came out this past week.
What were they?
That were heat. Eric the Architect, Future Proof.
Okay, that's something I gotta check out. On the like, well, I'm a big Eric fan, but like I need to like, his album is something that just catches me. Like it's one of those, like the last one I will say I was ready for, but at this point in my life I feel like his stuff is something that catches me. Like if I'm about to go have a beach day or something where I really want to get in my thinking bag, I'm gonna tap in, and then there's gonna be things that resonate with me that I'm probably gonna take, you know, bump throughout regular days, but I need to have that first vibe session with it, like where it's really
is very much on that like same vibe as the or on the kind of like laid back ish vibes, hard bars, very like.
Is it any story orientated? Because I love the storytelling in the last one.
I was gonna say that's it, because it's like a 4 or 5 song EP. It's a kind of like it's a short thing, so there isn't that story narration, and that's something that actually I'm kind of glad you talked about. We can bring that in like a little thing with all these EPs. You're not gonna get a lot of these like story based projects like that beautiful project that was the Arcstrumentals Volume 2.
Yeah, like Arcstrumentals Volume 2, which not a lot of people probably listen to. It was cool. I'll give y'all like the little rundown of it that made it fire. It was fire because he was kind of like he was a wedding producer. Like he was rocking around like he plays music, but the album, his character within it was like as if he did gigs and stuff, and like there was a skit where like it would be his answer machine and he answered the answer machine like weddings, Halloweens, like everything, like, which was cool because it added a little bit of a like kind of like, how do you say, abstract perspective to being a musician and what you can do in selling your art, and kind of just his perspective within that and what he wanted to do. Because I think there was a story within it about he was like the homies getting married, and he was doing his wedding, and then within the homie getting married and him doing his wedding, it was a lot of little lessons in that. Like it was a lot of little lessons in that like process, and I love that because it's like being a musician, you do get to be in an objective position to a lot of life situations, as we were just talking about, through experiencing other people, and you learn a lot from those situations, like seeing how they reacted to that, like how he was really doing a good job at narrating that, being with his homies, like being at the, he even messed up, he even got too turned, like pulled up late to the wedding reception, like, you know what I'm saying? It was very visceral and it was funny, like, because it was so real. Like it was so real because some of the songs were just beats and all that, but you could tell he did that on purpose because there was fire songs with Flatbush Zombies on it with his group. It was, he didn't want to overload you with music, he wanted you to follow the story, which a lot of people ain't really got the attention span for, is ready for, but when you do it, it's worth it. And that's what it is. Just like when somebody do it, it hits them. So he's still moving off that. I see what you're saying. Like he's still moving off that, except he just didn't really, since he went with the EP vibes like we talked about in the beginning, you know, it don't leave a lot of room for that. It's just,
while there is cohesiveness and like in the EP, like in certain thematics, it doesn't share that kind of overarching story or super overarching theme of like, this is really what it's about, like that one did. But overall, still he really liked a lot of the songs from there. There's another album that came out.
I mean, I could talk about new stuff
or
like,
EP.
let me know, what is it?
Cosmo, Pyke.
Ooh, I've heard of them, but I'm not the biggest fan. I gotta check them out. But ooh, you spun me into something else that dropped too, that you need to listen to, bro.
All right, give me one before. I just don't want to forget the name.
Shout the name.
A Piper for Janet.
Piper for Jenny. I gotta check about that, and I'm gonna tell you, like, we're gonna talk about that. We can talk about that on a different podcast. Like,
Yeah.
matter of fact, we could talk about that when the homegirl Millennia comes through, because I feel like she listens to her. She a big Florence and the Machine fan. Cosmo Pyke is very different than them, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. We can talk about that. We can talk about them. It's a band. She like rock. I feel like, and I'm gonna be ready for it, because I'm gonna go and like bump it.
Okay.
The one, another project that you probably ain't bumped that just came out, it was an EP, same vibes, 3 tracks. It was a single. So it's you know how they drop those maxi singles? It was Madlib, and the whole story behind it is Fortet. You know what Fortet is?
Yeah.
They made the project together because Madlib had a bunch of samples, and then they basically arranged and mixed the samples together. Like, they worked on them, but he like got their touch to arrange them and mix them, and that's why it's very like drum and like kind of like cutty, because it was like his raws. You know, like Madlib shot him a bunch of raw vibes, like, and they were like working on it for a long ass time, and like with their sauce, and edited it to be what it is. And y'all gonna hear a little taste of that for sure on the sleeper section, but there's definitely some bops in there. My favorite is The Road of the Lonely Ones. That was the first single, but they got a few other like gems in there too. It's very drum heavy, very like kind of marching band jazz-ish. Like, it ain't like it ain't like super vibe out jazz-ish. It's a lot of like drum cuts.
I gotta check that out. You know, I fuck with Madlib. I'm excited to listen to that. Listen to that on my walk later today.
Outside of that, you know, going back a little bit, Good Days is been on repeat.
Okay.
That's a heat ass song. Anybody else? Everybody know that song though. It's one of those. Like, everybody know it already.
Classic.
But it's classic already. Should have threw that on the list, but it's been a wild day. You know, maybe on the next spot. Fucking. As far as music goes, I don't really know any other shit that dropped that I was mad hyped on. I mean, I've been going back and bumping things that are like, you know, like bumping things that I missed, like that Rock Marciano project he produced of Stove God Cooks.
Okay.
Went back and listened to that.
Yeah.
If you like any like, you know, trap rapping, singing type of jams.
You got me to go, and I actually did listen to the album. I fucked with it. It's definitely got like that old school-ish vibe, kind of on the Griselda wave.
Yeah, it's very Griselda because they're like homies with him.
Not as like grimy, but like
because
still.
he sing more.
Yeah.
He got more like melodies in a sense, which is cool because I've heard him featured on songs and I loved it. Where it was like a little, like kind of like an old school New York, like a dude singing on the alley type of vibe. Like,
it was cool though. I fucked with it. It was a vibe. I liked it. I honestly hadn't heard about him before, but the album was cool.
Yeah, I checked that out. I went back because that was like when people were saying was really dope. I mean, other than that, haven't really been tuned into too much. One song, I'm gonna let y'all know, or a lot of people know, I've been bumping Pain by A$AP Rocky and Overdose. It's a very old song.
Okay.
But it's one of those old songs where you go back to and you like, whoa, like as an older kid, like in the industry, like trying to get on, it just hits you differently when you was young listening to it in high school, like, and then now you like, damn, this shit is visceral. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Not gonna lie, this is funny just because it talks about like the versus stuff, but you know how there was like that slight rumor of like the Travis Scott versus Future versus thing that made me kind of go back and re-listen to they're both like old discographies, like, you know, like their first couple albums or mixtapes, especially for Travis though, because I went on a way deeper dive with him. But
I went on a deep dive with him recently too.
Just
you already
like,
know, cause I got the skies, bro. I just got the shoes where I was about to get them, and I was like, damn, let me go back to Rodeo. Like, let me bump this. Like, I'm not gonna lie, there was a few songs. One song that slept on me that I forgot I used to love was Never Catch Me. On Travis' discography on Rodeo. It was like a bonus track. Bro, I forgot how much I loved that song.
That song is a killer. For me, honestly, Days Before Rodeo is, I don't know why, it always get.
That one has all the bangers. I played it out hella when I was young, but I haven't heard it back in a while. I need to go back and bump it again. It's gonna hit me, you know, drugs you could try, all that shit. Like,
bro, when that comes on, or Skyfall, or like Mamacita, or
all those are like triggers.
It's
of like
crazy,
instant turn up memories.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly. So I've been bumping a lot of that old stuff, but
that's a vibe, man. That stuff was groundbreaking though, which is why it's like, this is why it has a go backable thing. You know, it got a go back vibe to it. Like, you can go back to it, which is the whole thing we talking about. Like, Travis was able to kind of like vibe into different lanes with that, but the cool shit about it was that you could go back to his shit, and it's like, it's very like
long term.
That's the impact we talking about. Like, when you go back and you feel the shit, it's like, whoa. Like, you know, you might go back to some other shit and be like, damn, that was popular. Like, I used to bump that. Wow. You know.
Yeah.
But his shit, you go back and you're like, well, I used to bump this. Like,
That's one of the
This
ones where
was
when you put it on,
crazy.
you're like, oh shit, like you gotta turn up the
yeah, like
volume a
you
little
turn
bit.
it
Like,
up.
oh
Like, I used to
wait,
go crazy
like,
to
you're
this.
right. This one is bomb. Like,
Yeah.
that's wild though. That's the goal for all the artists, right?
Yeah, bro.
Get into those kind of moments.
I want to be the point where you can forget about me and come back and I get you really excited.
Fuck yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Hell
Like,
yeah.
you come back to the song and it's like, damn. But, shit, I think we should probably close it out now, right? Say
Yeah.
peace out to the folks and everything and then get into the music. So I hope everybody, you know, enjoyed the show today. Vine Tree Radio, day 1.
Thank you
Had
for
it
tuning
going
in.
crazy. You know what I'm saying? All the big shit going and give you a little bit of sirens. Wow. You know, that was a little bit wild for the first day, but I'm glad y'all made it to the end. Like, we rocked out. I hope everybody, you know, had a good time. Fucking had a laugh or two, maybe at like the little shit that was going on. I hope the video looked cool. I'm in a blanket. I'm out here doing my thing though. You know what it is.
There was a lot of hiccups on the video and like audio side of things. We're sorry about that. There was a lot more stuff that we didn't expect happening today. But by the next episode, we'll get it figured out. We got you guys.
Off tops. Peace out, everybody. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. Let's get to the music though, my mans. Come on. Ready?